You ever used herbs and spices on your minis? I have. Oh my god, my tank smells nice. No, not that. Mummy, that man's sniffing his tank. Yeah, I was initially just going to build the Justy and Kill team. I was going to scrape off the Aquillas because I can paint some bits there, sand that off, show you all of this stuff. 2 power packs into one, elaborate belt feeds. And I built them and I base coated them, 3D printed stuff from Shapeways and all kinds of nice bits went onto them. I'm really pleased with them. But the painting technique, or the combination of techniques that I've kind of cobbled together here in a novel, not invention, innovation, based on the Dirty Down Rust stuff, film industry, rattle cans, horror, and some cinnamon. Yeah, cinnamon. Spice, wanker. That's the more interesting bit. So, here we go. Surface primer. Then, after much shaking, the bottom, and you slather it all over your mini while your cat has a nap on the sofa. I've painted it pretty much everywhere that isn't cloth. And I took my time over that, and then the cat melted and poured onto the floor. I painted it all over the mini pretty liberally, as you can see, big old brush. And then I crossed my fingers and hoped that it'll work. From here on out, I've pretty much just pointillised. It's not a glaze, but it's very heavily watered down. And I've just gone multiple layers of these colours. And I've kind of layered up and gotten lighter to where I want my highlights to be. But there's coverage, but the coverage isn't complete. And where it is, it's relatively patchy. So there's at least 2 coats of very thin glaze over all the armour, except the recesses where the rust and the red primer sit. And then I've just gone up lighter and lighter. As you layer up multiple layers of the same colour, it will get lighter. And then as I've gone up the lighter colours, obviously it gets lighter. Now, that's pretty much the technique. You could glaze over that if you want it smoother. I have done that in a couple of places, I think on the chest piece. But for the most part, it's quite rough. I was knocking this out and trying it out to see if the idea worked. So I'm motoring on just to kind of get some Blood Angels contrast, red on the red bits, silver on the silver bits, and points of interest. I've painted a little bit of texture into the cloak. The silver of the metals has got typhus corrosion, and then some black washes in the recesses of the metal so that it's not red. Then what have we got? Some Reichland flesh shade to go into where I wanted the recesses of the armour to be a bit darker. Cover up some of the sins where some of my little pointillised dots have kind of wandered in there. So just to clean them up a bit. And then, of course, on the purity seals and stuff. These guys are covered in little tchotchkes and knickknacks and, little keepsakes and oaths of moment and all the rest of it. Then what have we got? The shoulder pad I've painted in Charadon granite. I rarely use black paints, so it's very dark grey. And then some vermilion red for the hot red highlights. As I say, this is pretty fast and dirty. I wanted to get this guy, at least one guy painted up to show my kind of general scheme. You can see on the shoulder pad there a little bit of battle damage. That's just literally, I just didn't paint that, and that's where the rust is. I could paint on some silver white scratches. I could sponge on some Rhinox hide and put little silver bits in there and go further. But again, this is just kind of proof of concept that this little collection of materials and techniques go together and work. Yeah, pleased with that. Dead chuffed. There's the Charadon granite that I used on his shoulder pad. and you saw the heart logo just painted on the front there. Little homage to Aliens, of course. Right now, as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, well, that's how you do troops. And there's the rest of them, the stuff that I've built so far. I've just given them a quick dry brush so that all the little parts and bits and bobs show up a little bit better. But where do I go now?
Well, you know, you're playing Tonks on Wednesday night, so you paint a bloody great orc tank. That's what you do.
I kit bashed it in about 5 hours one evening and painted it the next afternoon before I went down the club. Primed it in black, sprayed it. It's a vehicle, it's bigger. Why use a brush when you can spray it? I've sprayed it with the rust, and before it's had a chance to dry, I've doused it in cinnamon. Yeah, cinnamon. So, because the paint's wet and it runs into the recesses, the cinnamon sticks in the recesses where rust would gather naturally, save you a load of effort. Brush it off where you don't want it, brush it to where you do. It adds some extra body, gives you that dry powdery stuff, and then I haven't got it here, it's outside. Then just seal it on with a matte varnish. Boom. Cinnamon, paprika, any orangey yellow powder you've got in the cupboard. Although you can, of course, just get chalk pastels from the art shop and use sandpaper. Don't do that.
Dramatic. Ooh. Lightning bolts. Ooh, lightning bolts. Yeah, you know, that kind of thing. Because that's what orcs appreciate, that kind of thing. So yeah, this is for Tonks. Lifty, droppy kind of thing going on there. Bit of blue reflecting the sky. The hot pink of death rays. Tippy tappy paint job there, as you can see, and then a brighter yellow than my Lamenta, but it's the same technique over the same rust. But of course, what I did was what I described earlier: the dirty down and then the sprinkle. No, not like that. Don't be a wanker. The sprinkle of the cinnamon, and it all rests in those little corners and crevices. I built a different alternative turret. I'm going to have to move everything, and in a bit, like and subscribe.